Blog Talk Radio.
Think back to when you started your business. You had a dream. You had boundless passion. You wanted to create something different. There was a problem, and you were going to solve it. Being an independent retailer is rewarding, but challenging, and there's a lot more to it than you ever imagined. Well, Lightspeed is here to help. With 45,000 customers around the world, we've helped countless entrepreneurs nail the business side of retail so they can spend time doing what they're passionate about. Join us for a 6-week speaker series featuring a curated panel of experts that will answer some of retail's toughest questions and give you the edge you need to stay competitive. You have a passion, and we have a passion for technology inspired by you. Visit lightspeedhq.com/speaker-series to learn more.
Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 10 years now, we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Christin Myers, Regional Director of the OpenWorks Franchise Opportunity. And OpenWorks is guided by the simple philosophy: a cleaner, safer, and healthier environment means more productive workplace. This is the goal at OpenWorks, to offer more than maintenance by working with you to improve your work environment. We're going to talk to Christin about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
The Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity. Are you looking for a unique and lucrative franchise opportunity? If so, take a look at Stone Coat. With a patented process which creates a true stone finish on almost any wall or ceiling, Stone Coat is a true game-changing product in the multi-billion-dollar construction industry. Stone Coat is applied faster, cleaner, and cheaper than conventional quarried stone, which saves both time and money. With advantages in remodel and new construction of both residential and commercial projects, Stone Coat is a true crossover product. The Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity provides a low startup cost, low operating expenses, comprehensive training, ongoing support, and no royalty payments. For more information on the Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity, go to www.stonecoatfranchise.com. That's www.stonecoatfranchise.com, or call us at 972-380-2700. That's 972-380-2700.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 10 years now, we've been asking the Franchpreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with Christin Myers, the regional director of the OpenWorks franchise opportunity. And OpenWorks is guided by the simple philosophy: a cleaner, safer, and healthier environment means a more productive workplace. Hi, Christin. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Marty. Thanks. Great to be here.
Thank you, Christin. It's great to have you on the show finally. We always like to ask our guests, where are you calling from this morning, Christin?
So this morning I'm in Seattle, Washington, at our second largest office for OpenWorks in the U.S.
Oh, that's fantastic. And where are you actually based, Christin, in the United States?
So our home office is located in Phoenix, Arizona, and then we have 16 nationwide offices throughout the major cities in the U.S.
That's fantastic. So you kind of get to travel a lot, don't you, Christin?
A little bit. That's definitely part of my role.
Absolutely. That's great. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the history of OpenWorks, Christin, because I know you do have an interesting history.
Yeah, absolutely. So we were actually started back in 1983 in Phoenix by our current owner and CEO, Eric Roudi. So once he was ready to get out of college, he was very intrigued by the concept of franchising and really identified the commercial cleaning industry as something that was kind of flying under the radar, but he knew that it was going to be a growing industry for a very long time.
Which is interesting. I mean, you've been around quite a long time, Christin, if you think about it. It's over 30 years plus, which, it says a lot, about the organization, which is terrific. What impressed me, there's a lot of things that impressed me about OpenWorks, but I was reading about the high retention rate, at OpenWorks. Maybe you talk a little bit about that, because that was very impressive, isn't it?
Certainly. So I came to OpenWorks from a completely different industry, and when they told me that we wanted to retain 99% of our customers, I thought that was a little unrealistic. But now that I've been here for a while, I've really learned that 99% retention it's very simple, and the way that we are able to do that is through our incredible franchise partners who go out there and do the hard work of cleaning these buildings, but also through our account management team. So the account management team just really helps the franchisee focus on doing the work that they need to do to keep our customers happy, and that's how we're able to retain all of those customers year in and year out.
That's terrific. There was a story I was reading, Christin. I wanted to share it with my students. I teach for Kaplan University business students, and I was reading about one of your franchisees, and you probably know the story a little bit better than I do because I read it a while back, but it was, I guess it was one of your clients. I don't know, they threw away this like musical piece or something like that in the recyclables, and they couldn't find it, and one of your franchisees was able to go back and find that piece for them, and they were so grateful, and that story made such an impression. It sounds like it's a culture at OpenWorks as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. I would say doing the right thing for our customers and keeping our customers happy. That story actually isn't just kind of a one-off. It happens all the time. Our cleaning team, they're really looking out for the customer's best interest, whether it's things that ended up in the garbage that shouldn't be, or maybe there's things that need to be repaired around the building that we don't do that work, right? But we always try to let our customers know just to keep their building in the best possible shape.
What are the top three reasons, Christin, that someone should choose OpenWorks franchise? I mean, if you were at a franchise show, and someone came up to your booth, and they asked you that question, how would you typically respond to it?
Sure. So I think the number one thing that sets us apart from most franchises is that OpenWorks provides all the customers for our franchisees. Wow. Yeah, so we have a huge sales team, and they go out and find net new business, and that net new business then falls into the hands of our franchise partners. So our franchisees don't have to learn how to become that next great sales account executive.
Right. Because that's difficult too, as you know, Christin. I mean, again, you have a background, in sales, but I mean, sales is not easy. We have a lot of people on the show that they may listen to a lot of different franchise opportunities, but it seems to me, doing the show such a long time now, is that the sales part of it could be a little bit difficult or a little bit intimidating for most people. So that's a nice benefit of OpenWorks, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. That we have the sales team here to be able to go out, market, cold call, knock on doors, so that our franchise partners can do the best they can do in terms of cleaning and keeping the customers happy.
That's terrific. You work a lot with franchisees, Christin. I mean, day to day. What would you say are some of the top 3 challenges for potential franchisees face in general?
Sure. I really see 2 challenges, kind of as the 2 top things that they struggle with. The first is becoming fast and efficient, and then the second is business acumen. So what I mean by fast and efficient is really those cleaning methods. As with any new skill, it's going to take a little bit of time to learn, right? But what we do is we train them, and we are here to help support them so that they can figure out efficiencies to move through and clean a customer's building in the fastest and best possible way. And then the second thing is really that business acumen, and it's taking the franchise partner from that owner-operator, which is the bucket that most of our franchisees fall in, and help them develop a business concept to become that multi-service franchise partner. And we also offer training for that too. But I think that coming in, that's something that people are often intimidated by.
Right, of course. Maybe you could talk a little bit about, because I know there's a nice product line or a number of different services that OpenWorks provides. Maybe you could talk about, some of the different services that you provide, Christin.
Sure. So 95% of the time, I would say we focus on the nightly janitorial services in industries such as healthcare, banking, financial, your corporate office settings, and we do a lot of manufacturing and distribution warehouses. So we focus on cleaning, right? Just making the customer's environment cleaner, safer, healthier. But on top of that, we also offer things such as landscaping, handyman services, like maybe repairing a door or a window or installing a new AC unit, things like that.
Wow.
And then finally, we offer pest control services. We really are trying to focus on becoming an integrated facilities company where our customers can rely on us for anything inside their building.
It makes sense, doesn't it, Christin? I mean, you have a relationship with these clients, and you say, why not, and I haven't seen that type of model. Again, I haven't studied all of them, but, that's something that really stood out about OpenWorks, is that you do have this nice product line and that, while you have that strong relationship with the customers, it makes sense to offer these additional services, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and I would say that we've noticed the industry trending that way. When we do sit down with prospective clients, they want to be able to have one point of contact and one kind of bill to be able to pay at the end of the month for as many services as possible.
Yeah, it makes it so much easier. And you work with some pretty big accounts too. I mean, don't you, Christin? And I've seen that, over the years, OpenWorks have won a number of awards, haven't you?
Yes, we have, definitely. And I would say that our model is what really sets us apart to allow us to win those awards and work with some of the very biggest customers out there.
The majority of our listeners, Christin, we call them aspiring franchipreneurs. I mean, most of our listeners, they know they want to go into franchising, but it's a little bit difficult in the beginning because, there's so much to choose from. What types of characteristics does OpenWorks look for in their franchisees?
So when we're going out and sourcing new franchisees, there's really 2 main things that I'm trying to identify. The first is, do they have the ability to focus on customer service and relationship building? And the reason that this is so imperative, especially in the cleaning industry, is because if a customer likes you, then they're going to stay with you, because that's going to mean that they'll forgive you missing a trash once every month. Or, they're going to have that relationship to say, hey, just, remember this next time.
And the second thing that I
Right.
really look for is that hunger to learn. So we don't require our franchise partners to have experience. So we want to have the ability to teach them. And right then and there
Right.
is how I say, okay, does this franchise partner have the ability to learn how to quickly and efficiently move through a customer's building to clean the space according to that scope of work that we've promised to the customer?
That's terrific. It's so important, isn't it, Christin? Is to be, teachable or, coachable. I mean, all of those things are very important, particularly, in franchising, which is fantastic. When I was studying the model, I noticed there's a nice diversity to OpenWorks too. I don't know if it's just old school or just a perception, but it's a nice diversity of males and female franchisees as far as even as age goes too. You have your younger franchisees and older franchisees, and I think that diversity certainly adds to the culture or the mix at OpenWorks, doesn't it?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Really, anybody could do this.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter your background, where you came from, how old you are. If
Right.
you have the ability to enter into a franchise with OpenWorks at that very low cost of startup, then you can become an incredible franchise partner for us.
That's terrific. How does the training work, Christin? I mean, once you decide that, you do indeed like them, they like you, and they want to come aboard as a franchisee, I mean, do they come out to headquarters? Is that how it works?
So they actually train at the regional office that they come on board with. So
Okay.
our onboarding happens locally, and there's 3 different levels of training that we put new franchise partners through. The first is called FirstWorks, and it's a classroom training where we teach them cleaning techniques, OSHA standards, cleaning chemical regulations, and how to build customer relationships. And then they take that knowledge they learned in the classroom, and then they apply it to what we call SkillWorks. And that's in the field hands-on training so that they can use the knowledge they've learned and move through a building quickly using the appropriate chemicals, things like that. And then
Right.
finally, once they're ready to grow their franchise and become that multi-service, not owner-operator franchisee
Right.
anymore, then we put them through BusinessWorks training, and that's teaching the business acumen side of being able to scale your business.
That's great. So you teach them to look at the big picture as well, don't you, in the training, which I think is fantastic. And, because you work with a lot of franchisees, you could probably, describe to our listeners, Christin, what is a typical day like then for an OpenWorks franchisee? I guess it depends on the situation, of course, but is there such a thing as a typical day?
Certainly. I think that there's a typical day. Obviously, going into franchise means that you get to be your own business owner and kind of create your
Right.
own schedule. So what we see is most of our franchise partners, they clean these buildings at night. So I imagine that their mornings are spent kind of sleeping in or getting prepared
Sure.
for their day, spending time with family. But
That's
once
nice.
they're ready to go, we invite them into the field on our customer site walks and visits to do that customer service check-in. Make sure the customer's happy, make sure that everybody has the proper expectations. And then they might have a little bit of a break in the middle of their day before they
Right.
start cleaning their customers' buildings in the later part of the evening, because most of our customers, they want their businesses cleaned after business hours. And so sometimes that could be, middle of the night.
You've been doing this for a while now, Christin. What advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise? I was mentioning a little earlier on that, again, there's so much out there today, and we find our listeners are always a little bit confused in the beginning because there's just all these different industries and all these different types of franchises. So from everything you've learned up to this point, what advice would you give to our listeners in their quest to buy a franchise?
I would say the number one thing is to do your research. Do your research on the industry trends, and do your research on the company you're going to sit down with so that when you do go have a disclosure meeting with a franchise company, you are able to ask very thoughtful questions on what it would
Right.
really mean to buy a franchise with that company.
And the industry, is really amazing. I don't know what the numbers are, Christin, but it's you're in a pretty big industry, aren't you? If you look at the big picture, I guess it's a $1 billion industry. It's somewhere up there, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely over $1 billion. And I think it just keeps growing with the growth that we're seeing in the major metropolitan cities.
That's terrific. So I can ask you the next question. What are the plans for the future then for OpenWorks, Christin? Where do you see OpenWorks maybe like 3 to 5 years down the road?
Sure. So we just keep expanding our nationwide footprint. I think within the last 2 years, we've opened about 8 additional regional offices, and we just plan to continue that type of growth. By adding more regional offices means that we can add more regional franchise partners, and that just means that we can really help these aspiring entrepreneurs recognize their dreams of becoming a small business owner.
What's the best way, Christin, for our listeners to get more information on OpenWorks as a franchise opportunity and even, of course, as the service? Are there any websites that they can go to get more information?
Sure, absolutely. It's www.openworksweb.com, and then you can just go to the franchise component of the website, and it gives you the information that you need to know. But the easiest way, you can look it up there, but the easiest way to then get deeper is to really come in and sit down with your regional office. The meeting is so easy, and it's literally for us to learn about our franchise partner, that what their aspirations are, and then for them to learn us and our office, because each of the regional offices is who they would have to partner with day in and day out, and we want to ensure both sides of the table are comfortable.
Well, I really enjoyed having you on the show, Christin, and I'd like to invite you back as you continue to grow, because I think you have a great franchise opportunity. I've done a lot of these interviews, and I was very impressed with OpenWorks, so I'm glad to finally have you on the show today.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having us, Marty. We appreciate it, and we would be happy to come back.
This has been my pleasure, Christin, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews. Coming up on segment 2, you're going to hear what every franchipreneur needs to know before buying a franchise. We're going to play a clip from our popular Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 8 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show, where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Today's Great Quote in Franchising is being brought to you by
The Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity. Are you looking for a unique and lucrative franchise opportunity? If so, take a look at Stone Coat. With a patented process which creates a true stone finish on almost any wall or ceiling, Stone Coat is a true game-changing product in the multi-billion-dollar construction industry. Stone Coat is applied faster, cleaner, and cheaper than conventional quarried stone, which saves both time and money. With advantages in remodel and new construction of both residential and commercial projects, Stone Coat is a true crossover product. The Stone Coat franchise opportunity provides a low startup cost, low operating expenses, comprehensive training, ongoing support, and no royalty payments. For more information on the Stone Coat franchise opportunity, go to www.stonecoatfranchise.com. That's www.stonecoatfranchise.com, or call us at 972-380-2700. That's 972-380-2700.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott from Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. You know, we've been hosting Franchise Interviews many years now, and the way this whole podcast came about was we were looking to do, over the years we've had some great quotes on our show. So we decided to do these like little mini clips of kind of like a best of segment, because there was some really great significant information within each show. And we didn't realize that this particular podcast was going to turn into something just as big as the radio show. So today you're going to get to hear an interesting clip from Larry Sadati, and he is the Chief Development Officer of a franchise called Paris Baguette. And he says something really interesting. We're going to call this podcast You Really Gotta Love Me, but you got to listen to it to find out why. Get into franchising, but we find from doing the show such a long time now that many aspiring franchipreneurs, they don't know where to begin. What advice would you give to them in their quest to buy a franchise, because you've been doing this such a long time now?
I would say you look at something that you can get passionate about and are very excited about. You need to be clear on what your objectives are and your goals.
Right.
You need to look beyond the superficial stuff. Like, again, I know money is extremely important, but you got to look past just the money part of it. You got to look at something that you can get heavily invested in emotionally and also financially, and that you believe in. And when I say that, the most important part of a franchise relationship is alignment. You have to make sure that you're aligned with that company that you would be getting involved with, and they're aligned with you, and which means you have to believe in what they believe in. You have to have similar values, and you have to make sure that you are in tune with the leadership of that company, that you know them intimately and understand what's driving them and what you basically got to put yourself in the organization, and try to come out with a decision that you feel totally comfortable with and aligned with, and just make sure that all the pieces are in place and you do your due diligence. Don't get trapped into something that you think is a hot concept or something that looks great today, because there's a lot of here today is gone tomorrow, and I live in the county of that right now.
I can't tell you how many times I get the question, because, doing the show such a long time, Larry, is, from an aspiring franchipreneur, it's like, what's hot right now in franchising? And you're right, I typically have the same responses. You might want to be a little careful about, what's hot today, because you're right, it's a lot of times it's gone in 5 years, isn't it?
Yeah, and you also, you've got to be aware of how easy it is to get involved in it, because if it's easy, people are going to spring up into it, and it's going to get, there are, the pizza space right now is going through that. There's going to be a consolidation, because in every region there's no clear dominant player yet, but you have all these players, and they can't all survive. And
no, they can't.
Sooner or later, you can get caught up in something like that, saying it's really, really hot. It's a great concept, but, when guys start putting 2 or 3 of them within 2 blocks of each other, and you start splitting the market and everything becomes commoditized, that's a low barrier of entry category that can deceive you into a bad decision. I'm not saying it's a bad decision. I'm just saying it's an example of getting into something that is not really a high barrier of entry category, so you have to be very careful and make a very careful decision.
Yeah, I think that's well said. And I like how you used on several instances in this interview, Larry, is you emphasize the word relationship. And a lot of times when someone will ask me, to describe a franchise, is that's what I describe it as. It's a relationship, isn't it? And you kind of put an emphasis also on that, having that trust in the franchisor is a key element of franchising, isn't it?
At the end of the day, if you're married, this is your second spouse.
Yeah,
and
well
if
said.
you're not married, this is your first spouse. And anyone that's ever been married knows you better be completely aligned with who you're marrying, or else things don't go right. And that's very painful when it spins out and goes the wrong way. So, when I speak with franchisees, and I'm, one of the things that I often say is, look, we're going to be married. This is a contract, but it's a marriage.
Right.
And you really got to love me, because if you don't,
I like that.
It's not going to end well. And you just need to look at it as, hey, we're dating, and we're going to get engaged, and then we're going to get married, and we're not always going to agree, but at least we know that we can disagree and walk away and come back and agree on other things. It's got to be that kind of a relationship.
That's great. We have this free quotes and franchising podcast. We're going to put that in there, Larry. I think that is great advice to our listeners.
If you'd like to listen to that whole show with Larry Sadati of Paris Baguette, all you have to do is go to franchiseinterviews.com, go to our franchise interviews by category page, and then go to the food section, and you can actually hear that whole interview. It was a fantastic show, a podcast we did with Larry. And finally, we just want to thank everyone for making this podcast such a big hit. It's hard to imagine we've been doing this podcast, radio show, almost a decade now, so it's really quite incredible how quickly the time has gone by. So we want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.